Alrighty, happy Wednesday, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Today is Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Whoops, gotta fix that date. October 14th, 2020. Today we will review for the test, and I will. Carl Hall, you're such a good person. I will type in responses so I'll do better on the test and get a good grade. And our close, this is for our attendance. What have you learned that will most help you be successful on the test? And you can, of course, answer that after we've gone through all the information we need. So if you are in Schoology already, right, be sure and click on this and answer it eventually. And then you're going to do the graded multi-genre exam review. So if you click on this, it's going to open up here and it basically says watch the video, type in the definition and your understanding of the terms given. So the video is going to be a little further down in the main thing. I'm making the video right now. I didn't have it yet there. But when you open up the item, it'll look like this. So this is our Unit 2 multi-genre exam review, and I'm going to go over the answers to these. So you can pause it and just type in what you hear from me, kind of put it in your own words, so you'll be ready for the test. So let's get started. Okay, so what does it mean to infer? There you go. Well, basically that's riddle skills, right? You're looking at the details given and figure out a good answer that fits those details. So that's all you're doing when you're inferring, paying attention to details and giving an answer that fits. When you're using context clues, well, you're figuring out the meaning of a word, and usually you can look at the rest of the sentence and tell what the word means. A good way to do it is leave that word out and read the sentence and think, well, what word would I put there if that word wasn't there? And that's a good way to use context clues to figure out the meaning of a word. If you really can't figure it out, then of course, hey, Google it or use a dictionary. What are the elements, the genre characteristics of a short story? Well, for the test, we're pretty much just focusing on plot. So what are the plot elements? I know we've discussed lots of others, but the plot elements are what really count for this test. So keep in mind, starting with exposition, that's the start of the story. That's the setup. So that's where the setting is and the characters are introduced, and possibly also the conflict. Next is rising action, and that's where the conflict gets going. The main character, the protagonist, starts to have problems. And then the climax, what happens? Does your character win or lose, live or die? Um, the conflict is resolved. Then we have falling action. Well, after the conflict is resolved, what happens? Does the character go in the hospital? Does he go home and sleep? Does he run and find the girl? And that's what comes next after the conflict, after the climax. And then finally, the resolution. How does the story end? Do they live happily ever after? Is there a funeral? Do they limp through life injured and scarred? But that's basically how the story ends. So once again, exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, resolution. What does dilemma mean? Well, dilemma is a hard decision. You have two things to choose between and no clear right answer. And it's very difficult when you have a dilemma. What does shift mean in literature? Well, that's where the thinking changes, where the conflict gets going. And when the story shifts, that's kind of like, okay, now we're getting into the rising action usually. So that's what shift means. We're talking about illusion. Remember, we watched the poetry childhood where the two young men make all these allusions to popular culture that kids would know. And anytime you're making an allusion, you're mentioning another work, another literature or a movie, song, anything like that. So you're mentioning another work with an allusion. Imagery is descriptions, vivid descriptions, lots of details so the reader can picture it. Symbolism, something stands and has meaning that's important for something that's not what it actually is. So the flag, the American flag, has a strong meaning, a symbolism of freedom, and that's just one symbol, right? Thematic topic is the general theme. So if you think about our projects, we have thematic topics that we're going to be working with, like love, redemption, revenge, coming of age. Those are the general themes, right? When we're talking about thematic statement, well, there's a specific theme of the story, like we've talked about with To Build a Fire. So the thematic topic from To Build a Fire could probably be bravery and perseverance, right? But the thematic statement, well, he didn't listen to people, did he? He did his own thing and died because of it. So the thematic statement, right, the message about life or human nature might be, hey, listen to your elders, or even don't be so proud and prideful. And there could be other ones as well, right? But remember, this one is specific, this one is general, and that'll help you figure it out. Poetry terms. We've went over these in detail. Let's go over them one more time. Of course, the line is one line of writing in a poem. Stanza is like a paragraph, right? It's usually separated by a line break. Remember, when you're in jamming a line, you don't have any punctuation at the end. It makes the reader speed up. Repetition, you're saying the same phrase or thing over and over again because it has a lot of meaning or because of the rhythm of it. And repetition was used a lot in Caged Bird, if you remember. Meter is the specific number of syllables or stresses in a line, and you don't see that very often in contemporary poetry. Shakespeare's time, all the way up to the 1800s and early 1900s, yes, they focused more on that. But anything from the 1950s, 60s, even of course into the 2000s, they don't really focus on meter. It's something you usually see in older poetry. And of course, end stop is ending the line with some kind of punctuation. It slows the reader down. And what are the characteristics of an informational article? Well, we didn't really go into detail. We talked some about text features, but let's go over them again at the bottom. And then of course you can come back up and fill these in. Because we didn't spend a lot of time, I actually included in the bottom of this. So genre informational text, well, it's designed primarily to explain, argue, and describe rather than to entertain. It's to present readers information about theories, predictions, people, facts, dates, specifications, generalizations, imitations, and conclusions. And the purpose of it is to acquire information you want to learn, to satisfy curiosity, to understand the world more fully, to understand new concepts and expand vocabulary, to make connections to our lives and learning. So this is one of the things that you have to pay attention to, the organizational patterns, and you're going to need to copy and paste these in and then come up with your own meaning or definitions from what I say. Or of course you can always Google them. So sequence of events, most of us know this, right? It's just the chronological order. Things happen first thing first, then second, then third. And it's kind of given in that kind of sequence and that order. Description by categories. Things are broken up into categories that are similar or have similar features. So they're categorized so that it's easier to understand a large number of things. Process description, basically instruction manual, right? How do you assemble something? How do you cook something? How do you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? That's all a process description is. Compare and contrast. Remember, when you're comparing, you're telling us how it's the same. When you're contrasting, you're telling us how they're different. Problem and solution. What's wrong? How can we fix it? And then cause and effect. This is what happened, and this is what happened because of it. And it's explaining the connection. And the purpose of informational article, well, of course, is to give us information, to explain and help us understand information, show us what's important and what's not, according to the author, and then use story elements to make it interesting. And you see, some of that figurative language and descriptions and imagery and stuff like that. The text features, we talked about some of these last week, right? May have a table of context or an index to tell you where to find things in it, photographs or illustrations to help you picture it, captions underneath to help you understand, describe what's in the photo, maps and diagrams to give you more information, glossary, words of definitions, footnotes, more information about some of the terms that are in there, or any quotes, Bibliography, just a list of where you got your information, your sources from. And then, of course, the subheadings or titles, subtitles, help you understand what's in the section and what's being focused on. So these are going to go in here, and you can just copy and paste them if you want. That's fine. The genre characteristics, the organizational patterns, you put those here. And then if you want to rewind and listen to what I had to say, put in your own word what they mean. And that'll make it easier for you to do well on the test. If you have any questions, message me, let me know. I'll help you if I can. Be sure and take care of this because you're a good person and you love to get your work done. Tomorrow, if you're in my morning classes, you will see me. I'll be here in the morning, but I will not be here in the afternoon. So 5th through 8th period, you will have another video. 1st through 3rd, we'll have class, and we'll go over the readings for the test. So when Friday comes, we can just already know the readings. We already have our study guide, and we're going to do great and get this test done. That's all I have for this morning. Hope you're having a great day. I'll be suffering, helping people take the SAT. So I'll be glad when that's done, and I'll be glad to see you either Thursday or Friday. So take care, ladies and gentlemen, and remember, you're a good person. Suffer and do what's right so you can get the success you want. Take care. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.